Everybody, let's wait for it to settle down for a minute because the sound thing sometimes goes a bit strange, doesn't it? Today we want to talk about the rise of Jeremy Corbyn. I'm going to do a little twist on this one today because just been thinking to myself, and I just wrote a few things down about what would happen if Jeremy Corbyn had been leader of the Labour Party rather than Tony Blair. Think about the world and what it would look like now if that had been the case. But first of all, I want to talk about May's attempt to remake conservatism for a post-liberal era, which has failed. The Prime Minister seeming bad luck masks a grimmer conclusion that she has little to say about anything, basically. And as George Galloway in his recent show that everyone should listen to, by the way, called her a rabbit. He said she's a rabbit, and she is running our country. It's true, isn't it? The United Kingdom is being run by a rabbit who pops up her head out of her little hole for a while and says something very unimportant with some coughing included, possibly myxomatosis thrown in, and then scurries away again. I do love George Galloway, by the way, and as I've said before, and I will continue to say it again and again, the Labour Party needs him back. Speaking up without fear about the things that are important, or at least important to those who care to concern themselves with the state of the world and what's really going on, rather than just appeasing those at the top and those who must stand by political correctness. Any Tory leadership contest must be swift now. You know, it's going to happen. It's got to happen because we can't afford to be dithering about with these problems. And as Theresa May threatens us, all of us, that she will remain in power until Brexit, it seems that all this dithering and we're all getting away with so much, and so I don't see how any challenge could harm this process because the dithering is going on at the moment anyway. It's not happening, it's not working, so any challenge right now will probably be a better thing than what we've got now. She most certainly is one more crisis away from destruction. And as I've read in the New Statesman, centrist has become the latest insult to enter our political vocabulary. I couldn't agree more with that statement. A centrist is just a neoliberal with nothing else to do but to pull the sides in which they purport to be on down. Now, don't get me wrong, being a Libra, there is nothing I like better than balance. But balance where everything is out of balance just can't work. Everything has to be rebalanced first, and it hasn't been for a very long time. This country has still not recovered from the Thatcher era, because any Labour government that has been in power has ultimately not had a Labour ideal as its front thought. We needed Jeremy Corbyn, then, not Tony Blair, as I was saying before. Imagine how the world would look now had that been the case. Then envision this idea, and as I've been envisioning this idea, the possibility is we would be living in a far better world than we are right now if that had happened. Gaddafi would still be alive, creating his vision of socialism using their own currency without the dollar, which is why he was assassinated, by the way. Saddam would still be alive, and Corbyn would be in peace talks with these leaders, allowing us access to cheap oil. Corbyn's vision of peace would be spread around globally across the Middle East, and there would be no Iraq war, likely no 9/11. George Galloway would likely be in the front benches, and people would begin to grasp the difference between Zionism as being capitalism and Judaism. And Zionism would be seen as the anti-Semitic ideal, as it really is, not anti-Zionism. And they would get it that his ideas are less anti-Semitic than anyone who agrees with the anti-Semitism that occurs when Israel slaughters thousands of Semites, known also as Palestinians. Israel would be condemned for its murderous crimes against humanity and would be put in its place politically. Israel would be restored to a land of Judaism that respects other religions, and they would be all respecting the churches and the mosques and the cenotaphs and the buildings together. Capitalism would be put in its place globally. The USA would also know that war solves nothing, and its people would be waving their flags for Bernie Sanders and socialism, and not mixing that up with communism. People would be getting it that socialism is not extremism, it's not a communist regime, it's the very balance we need to achieve globally to live in peace. One country would not be more powerful than the others because we would be working together to spread socialism across the globe. No greed, no need to win. We would be sharing and caring across the continent to such a degree that Brexit would be just a handshake agreement with everyone, because everyone would be wanting to be negotiating with each other and to be dealing with each other freely without any problems and without any things put into place where one can say, no, you can't do deals with that country because you made agreement with this one. So it will be an easy agreement with everyone else, and it means freedom of movement will be able to occur across the globe, and we will be able to do business with whoever we damn well please without fines and repercussions. Other countries would be looking at how our NHS is run and agreeing that this is the best way to resolve any healthcare issues in their own country. Trump wouldn't have happened, and America wouldn't have just had two choices, Hillary or Trump. There would be no need for wars or talks of nuclear holocausts. Syria would still be a thriving country, learning to better treat its women, and arms would not be sold to Saudi Arabia. Thousands who have died because of those arms would still be alive today. There would be no need for retribution anywhere. Like Russia, all countries would be booting the Rothschilds banks and banking cartels out. Banks would be nationalised and internationally run. Let them run their banks in Israel. Our travel systems would be an efficient national railway link, and it would link internationally. It would be nationally run and internationally shared across the globe. There would be no need for war to get what you want, and so there would be a global unilateral nuclear disarmament. The Crown would eventually downgrade so that the poor family, and I do mean poor in that way, I see rich and poor, would be allowed to live their lives normally with a more celebrity status, symbolising our history rather than any particular power. Palaces would become museums, bringing in thousands, and nobody would be worried about their future if they become disabled. They would all know that they have a welfare system that doesn't make them feel that they don't deserve to be alive if they draw from it. Universal credit would not be something to be feared, as it takes away from families who have more than 2 children, forces people who are in poverty to become more depressed, more ill, more unable to work. Working for a system that supports all would be rewarded greatly. Universal credit would instead be a credit given to those who can't work and those whose jobs, such as that machinery is taking over when those jobs are lost. In such cases, those who lose their jobs must be supported with universal credit. Those working as menial workers, or what is now seen as menial work, who keep our water services and drainage services going, would be the highest paid. And the top businessman would not be at the top. He would be among the workers, earning his wage, like everybody else, supporting themselves and those who can't support themselves. Giving would be something that is seen as a great thing. We wouldn't be worshipping money, we would be worshipping giving and sharing. Isn't that what the religions are supposed to be about? But they also have got caught up in greed and capitalism. None of this would be enforced because everyone would be content enough in their own positions that they are in, all of course except those who would have to take a fall and become one of the workers. Those who currently run our newspapers, who tell us that this system, the way it is right now, the status quo, is the only thing that works, and anyone who can't work are the dregs of humanity, who deserve starvation and deserve to live from hand to mouth in fear of if there's ever going to be a meal on the table tonight. Who have you been listening to? Question, what are you listening to and why? What are you reading? And what is it telling you about those people compared to you? I love this vision and that I have of if there had been no Tony Blair and instead there had been a Jeremy Corbyn government after Thatcher. I know that we can't turn the clock back. We can't change what is happening, but we can change how we think about how society works and how different it might have been had it been done differently. And we can take this opportunity up right now to make this happen now. And because those things did happen, has already happened, of course it's going to take 20 years and 20 times harder. It's going to be 20 times harder to change. There has been an Iraq war, a 9/11, and that did happen. Blair did exist, so did Bush. ISIL did rise. We do have a tough time with Brexit because capitalism has been allowed to get out of control and it has become a monster to be reckoned with. We didn't have Jeremy Corbyn at the right time, but we do have him now. And things can be put right if only after Jeremy Corbyn we can grow lots of people who want this same vision. It may be a bit harder to achieve than it would have been had it been at that time, but it is still achievable. And to make it happen, we have to get Jeremy Corbyn to power, to begin the task of unbuilding what has been built and rebuilding what this world needs. Socialism, love, care, support and global unity. That's my vision for our world starting from now. Bless you everybody for listening to me and love to you all. Going to be saying goodbye and see you again soon. I hope that's changed your mind a little bit especially on the Brexit front. Actually, I had somebody on one of the groups that I've joined sort of saying, oh, do you think Brexit can now be turned back? And I've just said, actually, Brexit is closer to socialism than Remain. And it's not Brexit that's the problem. The problem is Theresa May. We need a Jeremy Corbyn-led Brexit. And I think that's when we will see a lot of different changes happening and things starting to work. People that can really negotiate, really stand for what the people really want. Anyway, as I said, I better leave it there. It goes on and on otherwise. Take care. I love you all. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.